So we are recording this presentation for a resource that you'll be able to access it when you come into work and talk to Sean. So if you want to see this again or have anything like that, at least we're trying to do that. So it should be recording right now. I think it's recording. Everything's good. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to Branding 101. Before we begin, I want to do a couple different things. One, I'd like to do an exercise here on the screen, but before I do that, I think it would be a good idea for me to know where you are in business. So could everybody is here tell me if they have a business or starting a business or just a little bit about you so I know who you are so I can tailor this presentation to you. So I'll start with you.
I'm Kat, and I with my husband, own Moon Yoga and Healing across the street. We just opened October 1st.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So yeah, so we're doing that, and then I'm also working on a tea, herbal teas, and I make, so I'm working on that, and a podcast. So I've got many irons in the fire, I guess. Would be the way to say that.
Good. Okay, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Ellis. I'm president of the Verde Chamber of Commerce, and we're tied into basically every business we go on. So when I introduce myself, trying to expand other than Camp Verde, Rimrock, Montezuma, we're encroaching, but they tolerate us. But we're in a process right now of updating our logo.
Okay.
So that's what we do.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I'm an artist. I also have an online business, and I think as an artist, I'm really wanting to see myself as a business person.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's kind of something we artists don't really.
That's true. That is very true. Business and art always seem to have a different room, always be separated, but in truth, that they're actually very similar.
Yes.
I'm Nicole. I just work at the library. So.
Okay. All right. Do you have hopes to start a business?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. But I appreciate learning, and that is why I'm here.
That's great. Then
So,
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you two.
Well, I'm Sean, and I work here at the Economic Development office, but it's always nice to. I have a lot of businesses that are concerned with branding, so it's always nice to.
Great. And you?
And I'm Will, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I like to understand communication when it comes to business matters.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, everyone. All right. I will explain who I am shortly, but I want to start with an exercise first. So I'm going to show an image on a slide. There's about 5 of them, and I would like you to write down your feelings about what you see on the slides. Okay? We'll do it for about 10 seconds. There's no right answer, no wrong answer, just exactly what comes to your head when you see it. The next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so thank you for doing that. That will make a lot more sense in about 5 minutes. All right, so welcome to Branding 101. In this presentation, we're going to go over 3 things. We're going to talk about what branding is not, what branding is, and then how to begin your branding path in life. So that's what we'll be starting with. But first, a little bit about me. So my name is Stephanie Peters, and I run S. Peters Designs, which is a digital marketing design agency. That's basically just me, but that works. I'm a website designer, a graphic designer, a branding specialist, a marketing specialist, and a visual artist. So I do very much well-know business and art together. But if I look familiar, which many of you in the room do not look familiar to me, but if I do look familiar, I used to run a gallery in town called White Hills Gallery. It ran for about a couple of years across the street, and then we were in the Bowlers building before I moved on to focusing on S. Peters Designs. But as you can see, art and business are very important to me. So to start out, what is branding? Well, we'll start with first. Branding is not a logo. So it is not Coca-Cola's logo. It is also not a slogan, so it's not Just Do It by Nike. It is also not a personal identity or a role of a business avatar or anything like that, so it's not Oprah. Sorry, Oprah. It's also not colors. Those are the colors of Pepsi, so colors do not define the brand. And it's also not a font choice. That was the font of FedEx, and fonts do not define a brand either. And it's not a product. So as much as Tesla loves his cars, it is not in fact the product of Tesla. So now we know that what is not branding, what is branding? And branding is exactly what you wrote down. Everything you just wrote down is what branding is. Or more specifically, it's a person's gut feeling about a product, service, business, or organization. So does anyone want to share what they wrote down for any of the options?
Sure.
Okay, what did you write down?
I wrote down Atlanta for Coca-Cola.
Okay,
I wrote thumbs down for Tesla.
perfect. Okay,
So there you go. There's 2.
that is
If you
perfect.
want more, I can give you one.
No, there's a great representation. So we all know Coca-Cola's main factory is in Atlanta, so that's part of the brand that we have created for them. Coca-Cola probably didn't think that Atlanta would define them, but it does. Thumbs down for Tesla. Well, Tesla as a company has both positive and negative appreciation to it. So some people interpret his brand as negative, and some interpret it as positive. And that is the reputation that we have created for him. So if you're a little confused, that's okay. Essentially, the brand is the business's reputation. It is defined by how much they trust you, not by how much you say about your company. Marty Neumeyer is a branding specialist and expert who has a branding company in Silicon Valley and has worked for companies like Apple and everybody in Silicon Valley. And he's really pioneered this theory that what we say, the people, is actually the reputation, is actually the brand. Because everything you do as a business, everything you put out there, we are going to interpret it and come up with what we think of it. Whether we trust you, whether we hate you, whether we like you, it's all going to be in our minds. And that's how we determine your brand. So after we engage with everything, all the ingredients, your design, your website, your logo, all of these things, your voice, all of those things, as we engage with those, we interpret how we feel about your company. Obviously, everybody's going to have a different perspective. Clearly, Tesla is not so positive over there, but somebody else over there is going to love Tesla because it's an electronic vehicle. Whatever it may be, the goal of as a business is to manipulate the minds of everybody to be thinking the same way. Not to use that word as manipulate or brainwash, but that's basically what you want to do. So if you do it well, you create Swifties. You create a tribe. If you don't like Taylor Swift, maybe you're into Star Wars. But both of them are two successful brands that have created an audience, have created a tribe that are surrounding one concept. So that's the goal in today's branding, is to create a tribe around your business that is loyal to who you are and what you do. So if a brand is essentially a reputation that is defined by the audience, how do you get there? Good question. By developing a brand strategy. So not to confuse everybody, but we still use the word brand in this brand strategy. So everything that will go from here is how you create that reputation. So what is a brand strategy? It is a plan that lets the world know your brand exists. So ultimately, everything we're going to talk about, everything that you know of branding now is how to create that reputation. So it's a long-term plan that is going to manipulate or shape the perceptions of the mind to get people to be loyal to you. What it comes down to. So just to recap, a branding strategy or a brand is not in fact the sum of your logo, color palette, website, etc. Those are just elements to an overall plan to get people to trust your company. That's what it comes down to in more simple terms. So how do we create a brand strategy? Always start by at the beginning. We go way back, and this is part of what a lot of businesses tend to forget to do, is that they get really excited about what they're doing and they go for it and they put the product out there or put the service out there, and they don't take a step back asking these questions that helps them build that reputation. And these questions are, why are we here? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you spending your life in this business, in this service? Obviously it's to make money, we all know that, but what other reasons? Because if you want to make money, you can go flip burgers. So what's the goal there? Who are we here for? Why are you doing this? Whose problems do you want to solve? Where are you going? Where do you see this problem and other problems that potentially are similar in terms of where you want to see your life? Is this, how do you want to, how do you see yourself in 10 years with this business? What are you committed to? Not only the type of customer service you want to offer, but what is your commitment to an overall picture of the planet, anything of that sort? Why should people care? Why should they care that you're in this business? What is it that you want them to feel when you are trying to help them with that problem that they have? What is your personality? Well, as a business, are you a serious person? Are you a serious business? Are you a fun business? What kind of personality do you want people to see you as? You know, if you are doing art, for example, are you going to be a serious artist that talks about really important ideas, or are you a fun artist that makes cartoons? Or are you both, that does political cartoons? What is your message? Ultimately, we all have a purpose into why we're doing what we're doing, and if it's really just to make money, acknowledge that. But ultimately, hopefully, you have a more deeper purpose for why you're spending the time you're doing what you're doing. Then you start thinking about who's your competitor, who out there is doing what you're doing, and how do you make yourself more different than they in terms of as a competition? What are you offering that your competitor is not? So how are you different? And then ultimately, the last thing is, what is your marketing plan? How do you get your information out there to have people define that reputation for you? But more precisely, all those questions can fall into 3 questions. Who are you, what do you do, and why? Does it matter? So we're going to talk about the elements of a brand with using Coca-Cola as an example. Coca-Cola is an amazing company when it comes to branding and reputation. I particularly do not have stock in Coca-Cola, nor do I drink Coca-Cola, and nor am I actually a fan of Coca-Cola, but if you look at the great scheme of Coca-Cola, they started in the late 1800s and they're still around today. There's a reason for that. They're very successful at building a brand. And the reputation of Coca-Cola, which I'll go into details later. So first, who are you? Well, Coca-Cola apparently was started by John Pemberton. Not many people know that, but if you go to the website, you can read all about the founding history of Coca-Cola and why John Pemberton believed Coca-Cola was an important thing to do. So ultimately, you need to sit down and ask, who are you and where do you come from in terms of what is the roots of your business and who's going to be the face of your business? So when people think of Coca-Cola, do they think of John Pemberton, or do they think of having fun, or do they think of people in general? And ultimately, Coca-Cola decided that John Pemberton was not a great face of the company, so instead they have people generally having fun as the face of the company. Next question is ask your voice. So the voice of your company is what is the personality that is shown up in all of your communications. This talks about not only social media, but your website, your advertising, and you in person. Oh, and that comes down to it. Are you going to be a funny person? Are you going to be a serious person? How do you want to share your voice? As you can see with Coca-Cola, happiness has been significantly part of their brand for the past 125 years. Everybody in all of their ads are super happy drinking the Coke. I guess sugar gives you happiness, but then you have to ask your audience. Now this is a picture from Coca-Cola's website, and clearly Coca-Cola is focusing on happy young people at this point. But essentially, who is going to be interested in your service or your company and why? And be as specific as you can, because that will help you in marketing, so you can determine who that is and where they are as a person. And what do you do? So in business, we all get really excited about an idea. We go out there, we're really super excited about doing our sodas, and we want to share soda with everybody. And ultimately, what makes Coke different than its competitors? Why is Coca-Cola better than Pepsi? That's what Coca-Cola had to decide and focus on that for the past 125 years, or however long Pepsi's been around. But ultimately, it's okay to be doing lots of different things. Coca-Cola is a massive drink company. They specialize in not only Coca-Cola, but they also specialize in Fanta, Dasani water, and alcohol, actually, is one of the other things they do. But they don't sell cars, and there's a reason for that. They're specifically in a niche of drinks, and they do it well, and they know that, and people trust that they do drinks well. You would not trust Coca-Cola coming out with a car and be like, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to drive a Coca-Cola car. Maybe you would, I don't know, I wouldn't. So ultimately, once you define who you are and your voice and your audience and what you're going to provide, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we spending our life doing this? And of course, the first reason is obviously money. We all know that. But are you passionate about this? Is this what you want to do? Are you helping save the planet? Are you trying to encourage happiness? Are you trying to make sure that people really are able to reduce their thirst? Whatever it may be, ask yourself that and share that. No business has ever said that they are in business just for money, actually. So we probably want to keep that quiet. Hedge funds, that's true. Okay, once you make a plan, then you can build it. And this is the fun part. This is what we all think branding is, which is the brand identity. So once we have all of that hard work of analyzing and all the analytics of determining who we are, now we can put that information into the visual form. So what is in brand identity? A logo, which we all know is an icon, a symbol, or an illustration that represents your brand. A tagline and a slogan are interchangeable if you Google them, but they're actually different. A tagline is a phrase that identifies the goal or purpose of your business, and it's usually what you put next to your logo. However, a slogan is what you put next to your product. So in Coca-Cola's defense, we'll talk about that next, they have their slogans, which are next to the product, which are usually taste the feeling, etc., but they actually have a tagline for the whole company. Color palette, typically 2 to 3 colors that resonate the feeling of your business. Any more than that, you go a little bit overwhelming. Any less than that, you have a hard time being engaging in advertising, so keep to 2 to 3 colors. Fonts, it's usually you choose a heading font or a type font, and a type font. So in your logo, you usually have your type font, which is going to be main business, and then the heading font is the main name of the business. The type font is usually your tagline. And those are used in your website and other advertising marketing materials. Photos and art. What visual elements convey your business's personality? So these can be photographs that you take, photographs that you find on the internet, preferably in commercial use, or art that you draw, or art that you have somebody else make, but ultimately any visual element that defines what you're doing. Voice and tone. Again, going back to that, even though it is part of your overall strategy, you want to identify it in your identity as well, and is your business going to be funny, professional, serious, and so on. Storytelling. So we talk about who we are. Now we have an opportunity to write this down in a paragraph format of your backstory, where you come from, and why you're doing it. And then, of course, the website is a primary part of your identity in today's world, and that's a place where everybody can go to and find the information they need at any time, any place. And traditional marketing is still around, so all of the marketing collateral, like your business cards, postcards, brochures, menus, signs, etc., all are part of your identity and need to be taken into consideration. So again, we're using Coca-Cola as an example here. Logo resources. Now, I'm going to say if you are really compassionate and dedicated to your brand, it is really important to design your logo and have a custom-made logo. I really strongly believe that. Not just because I'm a graphic designer and I make logos for companies, but also I do believe that if you really want it to say your voice, have somebody do it custom-wise. However, that costs money, and I understand that. So there are ways to get a free logo online. Granted, it is going to have stock images in it, so it might look like somebody else's logo out there, but there are places like canva.com, which is a great online graphic editor that you can create your logo. Logo.com is another place you can literally just put in a phrase and choose what you want your logo to look like, and it will pop out some ideas. Shopify also has another one. Now, when you use stock images for your logo, if you reverse Google that logo, you discover that somebody in Tennessee who sells guns is using your logo and you're a yoga studio, you might want to consider go back to that whole custom thing. So, but to start, everyone needs a place to start. So tagline versus slogan. A tagline, as we talked about, is what you see next to the logo. And for Coca-Cola, the company, Refresh the World, Making a Difference, is their tagline currently. And that is because they are dealing with all drinks. However, currently their slogan is Real Magic. Now, Coca-Cola has changed their slogan probably every few years for the past 125 years. And we see this in the advertising. It used to be Enjoy, and now it was then Taste the Feeling, and then during the pandemic, they switched it to Real Magic. That is okay. As you grow as a company, especially if you've been around for 125 years, it is okay to change up your product or your branding identity in order to meet a new audience that has come through, because obviously the people that Coca-Cola was targeting in 1919 do not exist today. So they had to change up their company. So if you were trying to write a slogan for your product, because they also did share a Coke with, that was one other thing that they were doing, where would you find slogan information? Well, there's actually Shopify, which is a website builder for e-commerce, has a tool to make slogans. So you can type in a couple words and put it in there. They'll actually make out slogans for you. It's kind of cool. But there is a ton of inspiration online. If you just Google a couple words here and there, you can come up with lots of people phrasing it, or you could Google poetry and find some interesting slogan inspiration. So there's tons of ways to get slogan knowledge for free. Color resources. Now, like I said before, it is important to have a few colors to define your business. Coca-Cola has 3 main colors: black, red, and white as the 3 main colors. And you see this all over their identity, all over their branding materials, they stick to it. In order to come up with colors that work together, if you don't feel confident, there are places online you can do that. color.adobe.com/create/color wheel. So if you just type in color.adobe.com, that is a great resource. I use it all the time when I'm working on websites and the company doesn't have a brand yet. I play around with that and find some colors. Colors.co, colorhunt.co, and colorhex.com all do similar things, all the same idea. What's nice about the color.adobe one is that they'll give you options for if you choose put in one color, it will tell you the complementary, the different color families that the color would fit in. So it's a little bit better resource. So I put it as number 1. But they're all free. Font resources. Coca-Cola has had the same font in the logo since 18 whatever it was, and it's a script font from that time period. They've obviously considered that it's important, it represents the brand, and that is great. If you find a font that really resonates with your business like they have, that's what you will want to do. There are tons of font places out there for free. Fonts.google.com is probably the best one because you can find fonts that you can use on the web as well. A lot of fonts that you download off the internet may not have a web version of it, so you won't be brand consistent. So I highly recommend sticking to fonts.google. But if you're looking for more fancy fonts, 1000freefonts.com, defont.com, and FontScroll are all choices I use as well. But when you download fonts off the internet, please select commercial use only fonts, because if not, you will be sued. Font people really like to make sure that their work is being acknowledged. Free photos and art resources. So I guess visual imagery is also very important on your brand thing. And there are tons of stock images out there that you can use, or you can take your own photos, or you can make your own artwork. 3 of the primary ones that are free to use for stock images is Pexels, Unsplash, and Pixabay. There are also paid stock websites out there like Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, Dreamtime. All those are great resources as well. But if you use any of those images and you don't pay for them, they will come after you as well. So you have to make sure that you have commercial use for the photographs that you use. Once you have some photographs, maybe you want to edit them to put them in square format or whatever it may be. Photoram.io and Pixel.com are also 2 great sites that you can edit photos on. So they're like an online version of Photoshop, but very minor. Now you don't have to use stock images. You can use your own images. You can hire somebody. You can draw images as long as the visual imagery represents who you are. Okay, so free voice personality resources. Your voice is you. Nobody can define that. So it has to be something that you find within you. However, you can get inspiration how other businesses do with their voice and how they share their voice out there. Coca-Cola and many, many companies use social media these days to share that voice. It is an opportunity that we now get to hear what the business thinks of their voice. And if you look at Coca-Cola's Twitter account, it's all very happy. They are very all about happiness and making sure that it's a fun time, because I guess that's what sugar does. So that's what they want people to see. So if you have a competitive business or there's a business out there that you like, check out their voice on social media to determine how you can interpret your voice. Okay, so the next thing is the story, your personal story. You can't really steal that from somebody else. It's your personal story. So more than finding out how to get somebody to write it for you, how can you make it better? And there are tons of writing resources out there on the internet that are free. Titlecase.com is one that will help you determine which words in a phrase that you can capitalize. Co-schedule headline analyzer is one that will tell you which ones, if your phrases, your headlines are positive or negative. Grammarly will give you whether your grammar and spelling is appropriate. HemingwayApp.com allows it so that make sure your target audience understands what you're saying. So if you're a children's company and you're selling to Barbies to kids, and you want to make sure the kids understand the story, you would put your story in the Hemingway app and it would tell you whether or not you're in the right age group or reading level. So it's pretty good. Cliche.info, or theinfo.org, helps you determine if you have any cliches in your story. So if you say, an apple keeps the doctors away, it would come up with saying that that's a cliche to make sure you're a little bit more original. Unless it's part of your brand, in which case go ahead. Free website design resources. So the website is very important, especially today, because it's one place that everybody can access. We all have internet access, especially in America, on our phones. So your website becomes really the first thing a lot of these businesses, a lot of these consumers will see. And so you want to make sure it's as best you can. There are lots of ways you can go about this. One of them is, of course, if you want a really complex website, I would recommend hiring an expert in that, just because as you are an expert in your field, you may want to make sure that you acknowledge that there are experts in that field. So if you try to do it yourself, it might not be great. But there are so many ways you can make it yourself too these days. Weebly.com and Wix.com are two great sites that you can do a drag and drop, and they have a free version of their site, so you can check it out before you pay for it. They're limited on what you can do with the website, but it's still a good starting point. WordPress.com, not .org, is also a good starting point of building a website. They have a free version, and it gives you an introduction to WordPress. WordPress.org is also technically free. You would install it onto a hosting, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. It just, like WordPress.org is more of a learning curve than anything else. But Google, always using Google as another example, has this thing now that's Google Sites, which basically you can put up a splash page about your business easily for free. So free design resources for marketing materials. So like I said, traditional marketing is still very important, and it's still very important to make a business card, have postcards, and other collateral. And if you're looking to design them easily and for free online, there are a few places. Of course, Canva is going to be the number one because it has a great templates that you can start with. Create.vista.com is Vistaprint's version of Canva, so it makes it great that you can do everything you want to do in Canva and then send it off to Vistaprint to print it. But apparently, I learned yesterday that Canva is also do printing as well, so either one works. Visme is just another competitor to Canva. So once you have all the design into it, now it's the opportunity to execute it. And this is actually the tough part. This is where marketing and finding your audience and everything like that is very important. So why do we do marketing? Well, obviously it builds brand awareness. It is, and that brand awareness helps shape the perception in the mind of the intended audience. So all of the ads that you see, all of the billboards, all of the commercials, all of the social media posts, everything that you see with Coca-Cola on there helps you build that awareness of that company. So traditional and digital is now the two paths to take. Traditional marketing is still very important. Even as a digital marketing expert, I am still telling you that you still need to do traditional marketing. You still need to make a business card. You still need to have brochures out there. You still need to make banners around your business to let people know that you exist. And there are free ways to get around doing that. Networking is the number one free way. Organizations like a chamber, going to meetings is a great way to do free marketing. Granted, chambers do cost something, but they sometimes have free events. And just in general, engaging with your community, going to fundraising events, things like that. Any way that you can talk with another human being would be a free way to get your voice out there. Free digital marketing resources. As of today, all of the social media companies are still free to create profiles and make just start talking to your audience or a potential audience. Each of the social media companies have a different purpose and a different type of audience. So if you're looking to engage in a conversation with someone easily, Twitter might be your choice. If you're a very visual business, Instagram might be your choice. If you're focusing on a certain age range, Facebook might be your choice. If you want to talk to the Z generation, go to TikTok. So ultimately, every social media has a purpose. All of them are free to begin with. Some of them, of course, have paid enhancements like Facebook advertising, but they are a great way to begin getting to your audience. Google Analytics, Google Alerts, and pretty much all of the Google Webmaster tools that you can find on Google are also great resources to determine marketing efforts. They can help you find out who's talking about your brand out there. They can help you analyze your website. They can help you get your website seen better. You can determine the search keywords. There's fantastic resources that Google offers for free to collect your data. In addition to that, as you build your postings for social media, there's also great places like Buffer and TweetDeck that still have a free version that you can manage your social media conversation, be aware of how people are interacting with you and respond to them easily. Those two are still have free versions. Canva comes into play again because they now have a social media platform to their company. So not only can you design easy to design a social media post, you can then just automatically post it to their Facebook. Moz.com, Link Explorer, and other SEO tools. Once you have a website, you really want to analyze how your audience is engaging with that website, or if your website is doing well. And there's tons of resources that you can scan your website for free. You can determine what your competitor's website, who's linking to your competitor. You can determine how you can actually put in a certain way to determine where people are looking on your website, so you can see the eye flow of your website. All of those resources help you determine, are people looking and finding the information that you want them to find? So if you have an about page that talks all about your excitement for changing the world, and you use all these tools and you discover nobody's going there, then nobody believes that that's part of your brand. So it gives you an opportunity to check it. Same thing, as much as you can scan your website, you can also scan your social media profiles to determine if they're having a great engagement rate. A lot of the social media websites out there are they show up and then they disappear. So fan page karma is one that's still around, but I would Google that if you are interested in scanning your social media profile. But that's where to determine, you can find out how many bots are following you, how many real people are following you, with the audience that you're engaging with, is it going to be older, younger, that sort. So the purpose of all of that is, why are we doing this? Well, to build a successful brand strategy, your reputation will define you. So ultimately, as I mentioned before, Coca-Cola has been around for so long, but they also are the #1 drink company in the world, and they still are. They always have been. Actually, it's not entirely true. They continue to compete with Pepsi, but they still beat out Pepsi. However, when we talk about reputation, now in all of Coca-Cola's marketing, and everything Coca-Cola shares out there, for the most part, is using the words Coca-Cola. But if you ask anybody what they want to drink, what are they going to respond to? They're going to say Coca-Cola, or are they going to say Coke? We have defined the word Coke for them. So our branding for them is that they are Coke, not Coca-Cola. And that is the power of the person, the power of the audience. So as much as you try to tell everybody that you are in fact Coca-Cola, eventually the audience will define you and determine who you are. So you want to make sure everything you put out there is consistent and keeps people in the same wavelength that you want. Because ultimately, Coca-Cola did end up starting to use Coke in their marketing with the whole share a Coke thing, because everybody called them Coke instead of Coca-Cola. So that is branding 101. Anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment, if you don't mind.
Please.
Sorry.
Yes.
So I've noticed, I'm not from here originally, I'm from somewhere else, and so you made a comment about everybody having internet and everybody having access to like websites and stuff like that. I've noticed a little bit that not everybody, especially in this rural area, has the internet or actually utilizes what they have. Which is why I would say, I think it's you made a really good point about making sure that you're still doing the kind of basic marketing branding, sort of the business cards and going to like chamber meetings and stuff like that, because there's just, in rural areas, there's a lot of people who still just don't use those sorts of
There's
things.
still a lot of dead areas in northern Arizona, and it's hit and miss. And when the prices come down, I think Starlink is going to change that. And I've already had feedback from people that have purchased it in my area where I live. And because the internet is, we got basically one provider, or, two actually, and they're either up or down, depending on what time of day.
You do, but in our culture, we all have this.
But
And so even though we are in bad areas,
education,
even though in bad areas, we ultimately have access to it. Now, not necessarily, obviously, we're in northern Arizona. I mean, you can go 2 blocks there and you have no service. That's true. Which is why it's really important to consider the traditional market, like I said.
I just
yeah.
wanted to say, I think that you make a really good point about that, because I think it's.
we still do a lot of paper.
Yeah.
And that gets a lot of words out there, there's a lot of, interaction.
And especially in a rural community, that paper, that interaction makes it so you are more connected. One of the things in the cities, they don't have that. So what makes it diverse or different here is that we're still paying attention to the, hi, John, here's a coupon, here's a postcard. It makes you different.
Areas like that, we still have a lot of community bulletin boards.
Yes.
Different businesses. Makes a big difference. I came from business,
Mhm.
and I spent 20 years there. You don't have that. I mean, you can walk into any big business and you don't have basically a bulletin board anymore. Now, the other one that we're working on, I've got a project, is touchscreen kiosk, which is gonna be big, I think, for people in high traffic areas. Interactive Chamber of Commerce, town temporary,
Yeah.
kiosk with touchscreen.
Well,
with all of
definitely.
our information on it.
No, definitely have that in places that people can easily access, and not just, the obvious, the library or the business assistance center, but Circle K. Places that people go to that only need that resource.
And we have, we're at crossroads, I-17 and 260. Community facing Weston, and Clydesdale Fields. We're in there.
Yes.
So it's only gonna grow.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of how we can coordinate and meld with that growth.
Well, actually, that comes down to collaboration. And one thing that a lot of businesses don't realize, the success of the future of business is collaboration. And when you talk about the Business Alliance, that's a collaboration of all the businesses in town supporting a cause of not only appreciating the tourism that comes in, but each and everybody
We
together.
have a solid basis to start with.
Yes. So if you work together, so if you were a yoga studio, it would be advantageous for you to work with an artist to collaborate to have a event together. That's how you get awareness, and there's another free advertising. So collaboration is important. Any other comments or questions?
So I have an existing website and Facebook and that sort of thing for my business. So I was interested in what you said about scanning those with the analyzing the website, analyzing social media. So how do you analyze your social media?
There are websites out there that you can just say, is my Facebook page doing well? You can Google that and it will come up with different websites that will track your Facebook determining on what algorithms are looking for. So you type in your Facebook page and it will say, okay, you have 10,000 followers. Those followers we can determine that this 1,000 are bots and these are actual people. And based on the data that they provide, they'll tell you what those people are going to be in northern Arizona or Tucson. It basically, they take what Facebook already offers you, which is when you go to your Facebook page and you see the insight, it takes that data but just expands it slightly. Now, all of the social media scanning websites rely on APIs with Facebook and with Instagram or Twitter, etc. So they come in and out because Facebook, and specifically Facebook, likes to restrict that API access. So sometimes you can get a little bit more information like the bot weight ratio, and then some other times you can't. So it's more of just a going in there every once in a while and checking it out.
Okay. And then with posting, I just learned about the @ sign
Yes, you can.
for posting for that, and then of course your hashtag sign. So
Yes.
is it crucial that you have several of those when you post?
It depends on what social media channel you're using. It seems to be getting more and more acceptable to have a few on a Facebook post, but 2 years ago, it was not acceptable. Instagram, if you have up to, it says up to 30, but honestly, if you stick to 6 to 9, it's better than 30.
Do you need consistency in that as well as with your branding? You have consistency
Yes.
on your hashtags and
Yes.
your @ signs?
If you have a consistency, right, I'm hoping they have an example on that. They don't. Okay. Usually, if you have some kind of slogan that you're using, use it as a hashtag. If you have some reason that you want your audience to also use that hashtag, use that hashtag. If you're trying to target a certain audience, like Los Angeles, use that hashtag. Be consistent with that. Now, of course, if you're going to have a special on cookies one day and special on soup the next day, you obviously don't need to use cookies on soup. But you do want to have some consistency in your brand. And even coming up with different hashtags that are part of your brand could be useful as well.
So I use LinkedIn for my one website, but on my other website, I haven't utilized that. So is that good for both professional and maybe another small business for LinkedIn, or is that more of a professional?
No, it's definitely good for small businesses. You can have a LinkedIn page for your small business. You can have a LinkedIn profile for who you are. LinkedIn is a funny one because it has tried so hard not to be personal and to focus solely on business. But in the last year, because people don't particularly care for Facebook, or they don't particularly care for Twitter, or they don't particularly care whatever, LinkedIn ends up going to the place that everyone wants to share their babies. So I would say try to stick to talking about business on LinkedIn, because that was the purpose of it. But it is a good idea if you want to network, use LinkedIn as you as a human. But if you want to share your business is updating, create a LinkedIn page and use it that way.
And occasionally LinkedIn will give you stats on who is actually looking at, because I get them periodically.
Yes.
I have been LinkedIn for forever.
If you have public view turned on your LinkedIn page, you can see who's looking at you. And typically, if you have a common name, somebody's trying to find somebody and may not be looking for you. But if you have a pretty unique name, obviously somebody wants to connect with you. So if somebody's looking at you, you might want to reach out to them and go, hey, how you doing? Because obviously they might have something to say to you.
And it's all how you set up your profile on your history, so to speak, on who you are, what you're involved in, what you're currently, how long, and the more you put in there, the wider your search area.
Yes.
I get the real screen points, but because from the chamber, and they don't look at where, the chamber, they're thinking huge or something, and we're different.
Yeah, and actually there's ways you can use data that you find on profiles to just do a mass messaging. Different social media managers will have access. Recently, somebody who was running for, I think one of the LD1 district just reached out to me on LinkedIn saying, I know you're a restaurant owner. I don't own a restaurant. I work for restaurants. I have marketing and advertising plans going on for restaurants, but I do not own a restaurant. But because I must have had something in my LinkedIn profile saying that I help restaurants, he's convinced I own a restaurant and wants to talk to me as a rural restaurant owner. So you have to fill out your profiles, all of your profiles on every social media as accurately as you can and as much as you can. But the reality is that there are algorithms and there are bots searching things, and you might get requests for some weird stuff, and you just have to ignore it. So, yeah.
And then what about the SEO for your websites?
It is very important.
So how do you learn more about that? And then what is the other one, meta tags and stuff like that? How do you learn about all that?
Well, there are sites that are great resources. SEMrush is one of them that can help with that.
What's that one called?
SEMrush.
SEMrush?
Yes. But ultimately, do a lot of research. And when it comes down to it, really the key for any search engine optimization is content. Content is king. So the more words you have on the website that are directed to your business and what you do, the better. If you are trying to get people to go to your site for, I think you're Nasha, right? So you do horse boarding. So if I was to look at your website, I would have a blog talking about articles about how I could board my horses with you and why boarding with you is a good idea and what benefits it would be for the horses. What does Northern Arizona offer that other places don't offer for my
So I do that like through the Facebook and the Instagram and stuff like that, but I should also put that on my website as blogs and basically, and get some YouTube videos instead of doing maybe so much on the social media side.
Yes, absolutely. Everything you do on social media is helpful, but it is not helpful to your website. So you have to do both.
Okay. And then how do I determine, now my other website is managed with my website designer, so I know we go through the keywords and the SEOs and stuff like that, and go through the analytics and the Google Analytics, but on the site that I'm doing myself, I'm not sure how to get to those.
Google Analytics would be where you want to start. When you create a Google Analytics profile for your website, you put the code in the website, and then it will start scanning your site and give you that data.
Okay.
And it's completely free. GoogleAnalytics.com is very free and very useful.
Okay. And then to set up a YouTube channel, you have to sign up for that? Is that what you do for a YouTube channel?
Google owns YouTube. So if you have a Google profile, then you can just use that to create the channel on YouTube.
So the videos I'm making live reels of and stuff like that, then I can turn those into a YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
So I need to get that done. Okay.
That's another example. Any content that you use on Facebook, like videos, put it on YouTube. Any content you have on Twitter in terms of words, put it on Facebook. Be cross-post on all of these things because your audience might be specifically only using Twitter because it's a fantastic way to communicate with celebrities. But if you are trying to reach, like I said, the Z generation, you're not going to find them on Facebook really. You're going to find them on TikTok. So start dancing. If you want to reach, now everything is up in the air on the social media audiences and stuff like that, but your Facebook audience has gotten older and older. So if you're trying to reach people who have horses, who want to board them, who are retired, Facebook is fantastic. You probably should not be on TikTok unless you were looking for Z generation to be doing horseback riding lessons, in which case, get on TikTok and start dancing with your horses.
But that's younger, so Facebook I use mainly.
Yes. But you'd be surprised because as the generations change, for example, Facebook was primarily my generation 15 years ago. My generation uses it now to share pictures of our babies because our parents are on Facebook. That is the only reason why we're still there. Most of them are on Instagram, and that's where they share their important things, or that's where they get their information. So what Z generation is going to do, maybe they'll start sharing baby pictures on Instagram, so everybody needs to go to Instagram. It's hard to say.
I'm not real familiar with that, the TikTok and the Instagram, so is that secure like Facebook, or none of them are secure?
None of them are secure. Absolutely not.
It's open to the world.
Oh, yeah.
Open to the world. You can have a password protected profile, but ultimately your data is not secure.
It's a challenge. When you password protect something, somebody's going to challenge yourself and keep all of it.
Yeah, keep seeing people getting hacked and stuff like that.
Thank you. Fantastic. Whatever you put on the internet is going to be seen by somebody. So that's where you want to make sure that whatever you put on the internet, you want out there. Because it
So
will
if
be
I
out there
wanted to
forever.
maybe have the websites looked at, do you do that?
I do.
An analysis of them?
Yes, I do consulting and analysis. Yes. And I don't know if you got my card.
No, I'd like to get that.
We've actually interacted with the other.
Oh, super, thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Are your slides available? miss something?
They will be actually, and that's why we are recording this,
Just in case we miss